She was hired to be the billionaire's surrogate for 1 year until jealousy made him fight for her love. "What the hell are you doing?" Lucas's voice cut through the silence of the Montauk estate at 2 a.m. Olivia stood frozen, 8 months pregnant, her suitcase half-packed on the bed, tears streaming down her face. "I'm leaving," she whispered, one hand protectively cradling her swollen belly. "I can't do this anymore, Lucas. Keep the money. I'll sign whatever you want, but I can't stay here and watch you build a family with her while I hand over my son like he's nothing. Our contract—" "Screw the contract." Olivia's voice shattered, raw and desperate. "That's my baby, my son, my body, my DNA, my blood, and you're going to marry that woman and let her be his mother while I'm legally erased from his life?" Lucas stared at her, his face pale. "Olivia, I thought I could do this. I thought it was just biology, just a transaction. But it's not." She was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. "He's mine, and I love him, and I love you, and I can't give him away. I can't give you away, even though I was never supposed to have either of you." The room fell silent except for her broken breathing. Lucas took a step toward her, his storm-gray eyes blazing with something she'd never seen before. "You love me?" His voice was barely a whisper. "And everything, absolutely everything, was about to change. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because to understand how Olivia Brown ended up 8 months pregnant, falling apart, in a billionaire's mansion at 2 a.m., we need to go back to where it all started, 6 months earlier, when a desperate artist made a deal she thought she could survive, a deal that would cost her everything she never knew she had to lose. Have you ever wanted something so badly that you agreed to impossible terms? Have you ever fallen in love with someone you were contractually forbidden to touch? Have you ever carried someone's dream inside your body while your own heart was breaking? If you've ever had to choose between your head and your heart, between survival and your soul, between what's legal and what's right, this story will absolutely wreck you in the best way possible. I'm talking about the kind of story that makes you question everything you thought you knew, about family, about love, about what we owe each other when contracts and feelings collide. This is Olivia's story, Lucas's story, and Ollie's story, the little boy who existed before he was even born, the heir who became a son, the contract baby who became the reason two people finally learned how to fight for what they wanted instead of what they thought they deserved. So hit that like button right now if you're ready for a journey about impossible choices and beautiful consequences, and subscribe to Mr. Hearthline Stories, because we believe some contracts are meant to be broken when love writes a better ending. Now let me take you back to the beginning, to the moment when Olivia's whole world was falling apart. The eviction notice was bright orange, impossible to ignore, taped to Olivia Brown. His apartment door like a scarlet letter for the crime of being poor in Brooklyn. Final notice: vacate premises within 72 hours or face legal action. Olivia stood in the hallway of her building, the cracked linoleum, the flickering fluorescent lights, the smell of Mrs. Rodriguez's cooking mixing with someone's weed smoke, and felt the last thread of hope snap inside her chest. 29 years old, art degree from a school she was still paying for, 3 jobs that together barely covered rent, and now, not even that. She pulled the notice off her door with trembling fingers and let herself into the studio apartment that had been her sanctuary for 3 years. 400 square feet of peeling paint and rattling radiators, but it had been hers, the first place that had ever truly belonged to her. Olivia dropped her bag by the door, still heavy with the unsold paintings from yesterday's gallery showing, and sank onto her second-hand couch. The cushions had a permanent dent from where she curled up every night, too exhausted to make it to the bed 10 feet away. Her phone buzzed. Marcus, her baby brother, though at 24 he hated when she called him that. "Sis, did you get my message about the tuition deadline? They're gonna drop my classes if I don't pay by Friday." Olivia closed her eyes. Marcus's college tuition, the medical bills from his motorcycle accident last year, the surgery that had saved his leg but destroyed their finances, the student loans from her own degree that had promised her a future in art but delivered a future in debt. She opened her banking app. $247.18. Rent was $1,400, due 3 weeks ago. Marcus's tuition payment was $3,200. Her own student loan payment was $890, also overdue, and she needed to eat at some point, theoretically. The gallery showing yesterday had sold exactly 0 paintings. 0. She'd stood there for 6 hours in her best dress, A thrift store, find she'd worn to every important occasion for 5 years, watching people admire her work, nod thoughtfully, and walk away. "These are very emotional," one woman had said, the compliment somehow sounding like a criticism. "But I'm looking for something more, uplifting for my living room." Uplifting. Right, because Olivia's paintings of urban decay transformed into unexpected beauty, abandoned factories with wildflowers growing, through the cracks, graffitied walls catching sunset light, broken windows framing perfect skies, weren't uplifting enough. She pulled out her sketchbook, the one constant in her life since she was 12 years old and living in her third foster home. Drawing had always been her escape, her therapy, her proof that she existed and felt things and mattered. But you couldn't pay rent with pencil sketches and good intentions. Her phone rang. Marcus, not willing to wait for a text response. "Hey, baby brother," she said, forcing brightness into her voice. "Don't baby brother me when you're dodging my question." Marcus's voice was gentle, but firm. He'd learned how to read her silences over 2 decades of being each other's only family. "The tuition, Liv. I can take a semester off if—" "You're not taking a semester off." The words came out sharper than she intended. "You're graduating this year. You're not derailing your future because of temporary money problems." "Temporary? Liv, you've been struggling since I got hurt. This is my fault. A drunk driver T-boning you at an intersection was not your fault. But you paying my medical bills when you could barely afford your own rent was my choice. You're my brother, my only family. I'm not letting you drown in debt when I can—" She stopped, realizing she was about to say she could handle it. But she couldn't. The eviction notice on her coffee table was proof of that. Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Then, how bad is it, really?" Olivia looked around her tiny apartment, at the paintings stacked against every wall because she had no storage and couldn't afford a studio, at the hot plate she used because the stove had broken months ago and the landlord wouldn't fix it, at the single window that looked out onto a brick wall but still somehow caught enough light for her to paint in the mornings. "I'm handling it," she lied. "Olivia, I'm serious. I've got some opportunities I'm looking into. Just focus on your finals, okay? I'll have the tuition to you by Friday." She had no idea how she was going to make that happen, but she'd figure it out. She always did. After she hung up, Olivia sat in the growing darkness of her apartment, not bothering to turn on lights she'd have to pay for. Her laptop was open on the coffee table, still showing the job search site she'd been scrolling through for weeks. Barista positions, retail, overnight security, nothing that paid enough to solve the crisis she was drowning in. And then, like the universe had been waiting for her to hit absolute rock bottom before offering a lifeline, an ad appeared in her sidebar. Surrogacy, healthy women 25 to 35, help create families, compensation up to $200,000. Olivia stared at the number. $200,000. That would pay off her student loans, cover Marcus's entire remaining tuition, give her enough cushion to actually pursue art without working 3 jobs, maybe even put a down payment on a real apartment, a studio space with good light and room to breathe. $200,000 for 9 months of her life. She clicked the link before she could talk herself out of it. The website was professional, tasteful, elite family solutions, connecting gestational carriers with intended parents since 2008. Photos of smiling families, babies, happy women with their arms around couples holding newborns. There was information about the process, the requirements, the medical screening, and 2 types of surrogacy: gestational, carrying an embryo created from someone else's egg and sperm, and traditional, being artificially inseminated, making the baby biologically half hers. Traditional surrogacy paid more, sometimes significantly more, depending on the intended parent's preferences. Olivia's hand hovered over the Apply Now button. Could she do this? Carry a baby, maybe her own biological baby, for 9 months, and then hand it over to someone else? Walk away like she'd never grown a human being inside her body? Her phone buzzed with an alert. Her student loan servicer, cheerfully reminding her that her payment was overdue and interest was accruing. She clicked Apply Now. The application was extensive. Medical history, family history, education, employment, lifestyle questions. Why are you interested in becoming a surrogate? Olivia's fingers hovered over the keyboard. What was she supposed to say? Because I'm desperate and broke and out of options? She typed, I want to help someone build the family they've always dreamed of. I understand what it's like to long for something you can't have on your own. It wasn't entirely a lie. She did understand longing. She'd spent her entire childhood in foster care, longing for a family that would keep her, for parents who would choose her, for a permanent place in the world instead of being shuttled between homes. Every 18 months, when families decided she wasn't quite the right fit, she submitted the application at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, her eviction notice still sitting on the coffee table, her stomach empty because she'd skipped dinner to save money, her future hanging by a thread so thin she could barely see it anymore. By 9:15 a.m. Wednesday morning, she had a response. Dear Miss Brown, thank you for your application to Elite Family Solutions. Based on your profile, we would like to invite you for an initial consultation. We have a high-priority client who may be an excellent match for your background and qualifications. Please call our office to schedule an appointment at your earliest convenience. Sharon Delgado, Senior Matching Coordinator. Olivia read the email 3 times, her heart hammering. High-priority client, excellent match, earliest convenience. She called before she could overthink it. Elite Family Solutions occupied the 20th floor of a Manhattan high-rise, all glass, walls and minimalist furniture, and the kind of quiet that only expensive spaces achieved. Olivia felt profoundly out of place in her interview clothes, the same dress, from the gallery showing, paired with shoes she'd owned since college. Sharon Delgado was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and the calm demeanor of someone who'd shepherded hundreds of people through impossible decisions. Olivia, she said warmly, shaking her hand. Thank you for coming in so quickly. Please sit. The leather chair was more comfortable than Olivia's bed. She perched on the edge, trying not to look as nervous as she felt. I'll be direct with you, Sharon said, settling across from her with a tablet. We have a client who's specifically requesting traditional surrogacy. He's offering exceptional compensation, $200,000 plus all medical expenses, housing accommodations during the pregnancy, and comprehensive health coverage. Olivia's breath caught. $200,000? Plus expenses. It's a generous offer, but it comes with some unique requirements. Sharon's expression grew serious. Traditional surrogacy means you would be artificially inseminated with the intended father's sperm. The baby would be biologically half yours, half his. But you would sign away all parental rights before conception. Legally, you would have no claim to the child after birth. The words landed like stones. No claim to the child. Her own biological baby, and she'd have no legal right to him or her. I understand this is a significant decision, Sharon continued. Traditional surrogacy is emotionally complex. You'd be giving away your own biological child. Many women struggle with that, which is why most intended parents prefer gestational surrogacy. But this client has specific reasons for his preference. What reasons? Olivia asked. He needs an heir. His family has certain expectations about bloodline and legacy. He's unable to produce a child through traditional means, a medical issue, and he's not interested in pursuing romantic relationships. He wants a child that's biologically his, but he needs a traditional surrogate to provide the other half of the genetic equation, an heir. This wasn't about a man longing to be a father out of love. This was about legacy, empire, continuing a family name. Something about that felt cold, but also somehow cleaner. This wasn't about replacing a beloved partner who died or helping a loving couple who couldn't conceive. This was a transaction, a business arrangement. Olivia could handle business. What are the other requirements? She asked. Sharon pulled up a document on her tablet. Live, an arrangement at his estate for the duration of the pregnancy and 3 months postpartum. This is to ensure you have optimal prenatal care, proper nutrition, minimal stress. He's very invested in a healthy pregnancy. Invested in his investment, you mean? Sharon's smile was slight but approving. I appreciate your clarity about the nature of this arrangement. Yes, he views this as an investment in his future. He's not looking for a CO parent or a romantic relationship. He's looking for someone who can provide a healthy baby and then exit his life as stipulated in the contract. Exit his life, hand over her baby, and disappear. Olivia thought about Marcus's tuition, her student loans, the eviction notice, the 3 jobs that still weren't enough. What kind of person is he? She found herself asking. Successful, intelligent, emotionally reserved. Sharon chose her words carefully. He's not warm, Olivia. He's a businessman who's approaching fatherhood like a merger. If you're looking for emotional connection or gratitude, this isn't the arrangement for you. But if I'm looking for financial security and a clean transaction, then this might be perfect. Sharon leaned forward. I'm going to be honest with you, because I think you can handle it. Lucas Morris is not an easy man. He's demanding, he's exacting, and he's not interested in your feelings about the process. He wants a healthy baby delivered on schedule, that's all. Lucas Morris. The name sounded vaguely familiar, though Olivia couldn't place it. However, Sharon continued, he's also scrupulously fair. He'll honor every clause of the contract. You'll be compensated exactly as promised. You'll receive the best. Medical care money can buy, and you'll be treated professionally. Just don't expect him to treat you like family. Family. The word twisted something in Olivia's chest. She'd spent her whole life trying to find family, to create it, to earn a permanent place in someone's world. And now she was considering creating a baby, her own biological child, and handing him over to a cold businessman who wanted an heir like someone else might want a luxury car. Can I think about it? Olivia asked. Of course. But I should tell you, Mr. Morris is interviewing other candidates. If you're interested, I'd recommend moving quickly. Olivia nodded, her mind spinning. Sharon walked her to the elevator, then paused. Olivia, one more thing. Traditional surrogacy is legal, but it's complicated. Some states have specific regulations. You'll need independent legal counsel to review the contract. Don't sign anything without a lawyer looking at it first. I can't afford a lawyer. Mr. Morris will provide one for you. It's standard practice. He wants to ensure you understand exactly what you're agreeing. 2, that there's no possibility of you claiming duress or lack of understanding later. Sharon's expression softened. He's protecting himself, but it protects you too. On the subway ride back to Brooklyn, Olivia pulled out her phone and Googled Lucas Morris. The results made her stomach drop. Lucas Morris, CEO of Morris Hospitality Global. Luxury hotels and resorts across 3 continents. Estimated net worth, $2.3 billion. At 35, he was one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the hospitality industry. The photos showed a man who looked like he'd been carved from marble, sharp jawline, dark hair, storm gray eyes that seemed to look through the camera rather than at it. He was always impeccably dressed, always alone in the photos. No dates, no friends, just Lucas Morris standing in front of his hotels or shaking hands with dignitaries. There were articles about his business acumen, his expansion into Asian markets, his reputation for being brilliant but ruthless. And there, buried in a profile from 2 years ago, a single line. Morris remains unmarried and childless, a rarity among his generation of legacy-focused entrepreneurs. When asked about family plans, he declined to comment. This was the man who wanted to hire her body to create his heir. Olivia's phone buzzed. Marcus. Hey, Liv. Any luck with those opportunities you mentioned? She looked at the eviction notice photo she'd taken as a reminder. At her bank balance. At the future collapsing around her. She opened her email and wrote to Sharon Delgado. I'd like to move forward. When can I meet Mr. Morris? Lucas Morris's office occupied the entire top floor of his corporate headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of the city that Olivia had only ever seen from the ground, looking up. She dressed in her interview outfit again. It was the only professional thing. She owned and felt profoundly aware of every cheap seam and outdated cut. The receptionist who'd escorted her up had been wearing a suit that probably cost more than Olivia's entire wardrobe. Mr. Morris will see you now, the receptionist said, opening double doors into an office that was larger than Olivia's entire apartment. And there he was. Lucas Morris stood by the windows, his back to her, hands clasped behind him as he looked out at the city he'd conquered. Even from behind, he radiated power, tall, broad-shouldered, every line of his body suggesting absolute control. Miss Brown. He turned, and Olivia's breath caught. The photos hadn't done him justice, or maybe they'd been too kind. Because Lucas Morris in person was devastating, not in a warm, approachable way, but in the way a storm was devastating. Beautiful and dangerous and utterly impersonal. His eyes met hers, gray as winter clouds, and she felt assessed, cataloged, and judged in approximately 3 seconds. Mr. Morris, she managed, proud that her voice stayed steady. Sit. It wasn't quite a command, but it wasn't a request either. Olivia sat in one of the leather chairs facing his desk. Lucas didn't sit. He remained standing, maintaining the power dynamic, reminding her exactly who was in control of this interview. Sharon tells me you're interested in the surrogacy arrangement, he said. His voice was deep, crisp, the kind of voice that expected to be obeyed. Yes. Why? The directness surprised her. Why? You're an artist, according to your file. You have a degree in fine arts, you work 3 jobs to support yourself, and help your brother with college expenses, and you're facing eviction. He'd done his research. Of course he had. So I'm asking why a woman with your background is willing to undergo traditional surrogacy. The truth, please, not the sentimental answer you put on your application. Olivia felt her defenses rise. The truth is, I need the money. Is that what you want to hear? Something flickered in his expression. Approval, maybe. Yes, I appreciate honesty. I'm not interested in a surrogate who's going to romanticize this arrangement or develop emotional expectations. This is a transaction. I'm paying you $200,000 to carry my child and hand him over. Nothing more. Him. He'd already decided the baby would be a boy. You seem very certain it'll be a boy, Olivia said. I'm having a son, an heir. That's non-negotiable. Lucas finally moved to sit behind his desk, the massive piece of furniture creating a physical barrier between them. I've had genetic testing. The selection process will ensure a male embryo. That's not how traditional surrogacy works. You can't select. Olivia stopped. Wait, are you talking about IVF? No, traditional artificial insemination, but with preconception genetic counseling and timing to optimize for male conception. It's not guaranteed, but the odds are favorable. He spoke about creating a child like he was discussing a business strategy. However, if the first pregnancy results in a female, we would need to discuss options. Olivia felt something cold settle in her stomach. Options? Termination and trying again, or allowing you to carry to term with adjusted compensation, then attempting again for a male heir. She stared at him. You'd terminate a pregnancy because the baby was the wrong gender? I need a son, Miss Brown. A daughter can't inherit the Morris name or the legacy that comes with it. His expression didn't change. Is that a problem? Yes. Yes, it was a problem. It was a massive, horrifying problem. But Olivia thought about Marcus's tuition, her eviction notice, the fact that she'd eaten ramen for dinner 4 nights this week because it was all she could afford. What if I refuse termination? She asked carefully. Then you'd be in breach of contract and forfeit all compensation except medical expenses already incurred. Lucas leaned back in his chair, studying her. I'm not a monster, Miss Brown. I won't force you to terminate a pregnancy, but I need you to understand the terms before we begin. I need a male heir. If you can't deliver that, our arrangement ends. Olivia's hands were shaking. She clasped them in her lap. This is insane. This is honest. Lucas's voice didn't rise, but it hardened. Most intended parents would smile and pretend this is about love and family and beautiful beginnings. I'm telling you exactly what I want and exactly what I'm willing to pay for it. You can walk away right now, or you can accept the terms and change your financial situation permanently. You're asking me to agree to terminate my own baby if it's a girl. I'm asking you to agree to the conditions of employment. You're not creating your baby, you're creating my heir. Your genetic contribution is biological necessity, not emotional bond. Olivia stood abruptly. I need to think about this. Of course. Lucas stood as well, moving around the desk with predatory grace. Take 24 hours. If I don't hear from you by 5 p.m. tomorrow, I'll move forward with other candidates. He was already dismissing her, already moving on to the next option. To Lucas Morris, she was interchangeable. A womb for hire. At the door, Olivia turned back. Can I ask you something? Lucas raised an eyebrow. Yes. Why do you want a child at all? If it's just about legacy and inheritance, there are other ways. Adoption, a business succession plan, charity foundations. Why go through all this? For the first time, something human flickered across Lucas's face. Pain, maybe. Or longing. My parents built this company from nothing, he said quietly. My father, Oliver Morris, worked himself into an early grave to create this empire. My mother, Victoria, died 2 years ago, and her last words to me were, give me a grandson to carry on the Morris name. I couldn't promise her that then, but I can deliver it now. So this is about guilt. Lucas's expression shuddered again, the vulnerability vanishing. This is about honoring a promise. 24 hours, Miss Brown. Olivia didn't go home. She went to the Brooklyn Museum, to the gallery where she'd spent countless hours as a teenager, escaping foster homes and impossible situations by losing herself in art. She sat in front of her favorite painting, a massive abstract by Carl Walker, all silhouettes and shadows, and brutal honesty about history and identity, and the things we inherit whether we want them or not. Her phone rang. Marcus. "Hey," she answered. "You sound weird. What's wrong?" "I met with the opportunity I mentioned." Olivia kept her voice low in the quiet gallery. "It's complicated." "How complicated?" "A billionaire wants to pay me $200,000 to carry his baby. Traditional surrogacy, which means the baby would be biologically mine. I'd have to live in his house for the pregnancy and 3 months after. Then I'd hand over the baby and leave forever." Marcus was silent for a long moment. "Liv, I know. That's your baby, your DNA, your kid. Legally it would be his. I'd sign away all rights before conception, but biologically, emotionally, that's your child." Marcus's voice was tight. "You'd have to live with knowing your kid is out there, being raised by someone else. Could you really do that?" Olivia thought about the foster homes, the temporary families, the feeling of not belonging anywhere to anyone. "I don't know," she whispered. "But Marcus, it's $200,000. That's your tuition, my loans, a future where we're not drowning. It's 9 months of my life for permanent stability. It's 9 months of growing your own kid and then giving him away like he's a product you manufactured. Him." Even Marcus had defaulted to masculine pronouns like everyone else. "What if I could separate it?" Olivia said. "What if I could think of it as just biology, not family? He's paying me to do a job. I deliver the job and move on." "You're not built that way, Liv. You're the girl who cried when we had to return our foster dog after 2 weeks because you got too attached. You're the girl who kept that plant from the coffee shop alive for 3 years because you felt bad that someone threw it away. You attach, you care, you love. That's who you are. Maybe I can learn not to be. Or maybe you'd spend the rest of your life wondering about the kid you gave away, wondering if he was okay, if he was loved, if he ever thought about you." Olivia closed her eyes. "What would you do if you were me?" Marcus sighed. "I'd tell you to find another way, but I also know there isn't another way, is there? We're out of options. I have 24 hours to decide. Then take all 24 hours. Don't rush into something this big." After they hung up, Olivia sat in the gallery until closing, staring at the painting, thinking about shadows and silhouettes and the things we inherit. That night she dreamed about a baby boy with storm gray eyes reaching for her, crying for her. In the dream, she handed him to a faceless man and walked away. The baby's cries followed her, but she kept walking, kept walking, kept walking. She woke up at 3 a.m., tears on her face, and knew she'd already made her decision. Not because it was right, not because she could handle it, but because she had no choice. At 4:47 p.m. the next day, Olivia called Sharon Delgado. "I'll do it," she said. "I'll be Lucas Morris's surrogate." There was a pause. Then Sharon's careful voice, "Are you certain? Once you start this process, it's very difficult to back out." "I'm certain." "All right. I'll arrange the contract review and medical screening." "Olivia?" Sharon's voice softened. "Don't fall in love with the baby. Don't fall in love with Lucas. This is a job, remember that, and you'll survive it." Olivia hung up and stared at her apartment. The eviction notice, the empty fridge, the paintings that nobody wanted. She was about to sell the only thing she had left to sell. Herself. And God help her, she was going to make it work. The lawyer Lucas Morris provided was a woman named Patricia Zhao, who specialized in reproductive law and had eyes that had clearly seen every possible way these arrangements could go wrong. She met Olivia at a coffee shop in Brooklyn, spreading the 47-page contract across a table like she was laying out evidence at a crime scene. "Before we begin," Patricia said, "I want you to understand something. I'm being paid by Lucas Morris, but my ethical obligation is to make sure you understand what you're signing. I'm not here to convince you to sign or not sign. I'm here to make sure you can't claim ignorance later." "That's comforting," Olivia muttered. Patricia's smile was grim. "It's not meant to be comforting. It's meant to be honest." She pulled out a highlighter. "Let's go through the parts that will haunt you if you don't pay attention." For the next 2 hours, Patricia walked Olivia through every clause, every contingency, every way this contract could destroy her life. Clause 3.2, Genetic Material and Biological Parentage. The surrogate acknowledges that, while the resulting child will be biologically related to her via genetic contribution, she will have no parental rights, custody claims, or legal relationship to said child. The surrogate agrees to never contact, attempt to contact, or claim any connection to the child after the termination of contract date. "That means you can't show up on his 18th birthday with a surprise I'm your mom speech," Patricia said bluntly. "You can't send birthday cards. You can't check up on him through social media. Legally, you will not be his mother. You'll be a genetic stranger. Olivia's throat tightened. I understand. Clause 5.7, gender selection and pregnancy termination in the event that genetic testing reveals a female fetus. The intended father reserves the right to request termination of pregnancy. The surrogate may refuse such termination, but refusal constitutes breach of contract and forfeiture of all compensation except medical expenses already incurred. This is the clause that makes me want to throw this whole contract in the trash, Patricia said, anger flickering across her professional composure. He can't force you to terminate. That would be illegal. But he can financially punish you for refusing. It's coercive as hell, and I personally think it's unconscionable. But it's legal? Unfortunately, yes. In New York, surrogacy contracts can include compensation contingencies. This is essentially saying his payment is contingent on delivery of a male child. Patricia leaned forward. Olivia, what will you do if you're pregnant with a girl and he demands termination? Olivia had been asking herself that question for 3 days. I don't know. Then you need to figure it out before you sign. Because in the moment, with hormones and emotions and a baby growing inside you, you won't be thinking clearly. Decide now what your line is. Olivia thought about it, really thought about it. If I'm pregnant with a girl, she said slowly, I'll refuse termination. I'll lose the money, but I'll carry her to term. And then? The next words felt like swallowing glass. Then I'll put her up for adoption, so she can have a family that actually wants her. Patricia nodded, making a note. I'll document that as your stated intention. It won't protect you legally, but it shows you've thought through the worst-case scenario. They continued through the contract. Clause 8.1, cohabitation requirements. The surrogate agrees to reside at the intended father's primary residence, Montauk, New, for the duration of the pregnancy, and 3 months postpartum. The surrogate will have private accommodations but will be expected to maintain accessibility for medical monitoring and prenatal care coordination. You'll be living in his house for approximately 12 months, Patricia said. You'll have your own room, your own space, but you'll be under his roof, subject to his household rules. No smoking, no alcohol, no drugs. Standard pregnancy restrictions, but enforced by contract. He can also require you to maintain certain nutritional standards, exercise regimens, and medical compliance. So, I'm basically his employee living in his house. Yes. Which brings us to the most important clause. Patricia flipped to the end of the contract. Clause 12.4, non-fraternization and relationship boundaries. The surrogate and intended father agree to maintain a strictly professional relationship. Any romantic or sexual involvement between parties is strictly prohibited and constitutes immediate breach of contract with forfeiture of all remaining compensation. The surrogate acknowledges that she is providing a biological service, not entering into a personal relationship. Patricia looked at Olivia directly. Do not fall in love with Lucas Morris. Do not sleep with him. Do not fantasize about this turning into some pretty woman fairy tale where the rich guy falls for the struggling artist. He has specifically included this clause because he does not want emotional entanglement. If you catch feelings, you suffer alone and keep it to yourself, or you lose everything. I'm not going to fall in love with him, Olivia said. He's cold, arrogant, and he's literally hiring me like I'm a piece of equipment. Good. Remember that feeling when you're living in his mansion, carrying his baby, and he does something unexpectedly kind, because he will, occasionally. Rich men aren't cartoon villains. They have moments of humanity. Don't confuse those moments with actual affection. Patricia closed the contract. Last question, and I need you to answer honestly. Why are you really doing this? I told you. I need the money. No, I mean, why are you capable of doing this? Most women couldn't separate themselves emotionally from their own biological child. You're either exceptionally compartmentalized, or you're lying to yourself about your ability to handle this. Which is it? Olivia thought about foster care, about being the kid nobody kept, about learning very young that attachment was dangerous, that love was temporary, that you survived by not needing anyone. I grew up learning that biology doesn't make you family, she said quietly. I had biological parents who gave me away. I had foster parents who sent me back when I was too difficult. I learned that family is choice, not DNA. So yes, this baby will be biologically mine, but he won't be my son. He'll be Lucas Morris's son. I can separate that. Patricia studied her for a long moment. Okay, I believe you believe that. Whether it's actually true, you'll find out in about 9 months. She slid the contract across the table with a pen. If you're going to do this, do it now before you talk yourself out of it. Olivia picked up the pen. Her hand was steady. She signed her name on page 47, next to Lucas Morris's bold signature. Olivia Brown, the woman who was about to carry a child she'd never be allowed to mother. The Montauk estate was everything Olivia had expected, and nothing she was prepared for. Lucas's driver, a quiet man named James, picked her up from her Brooklyn apartment with her 2 suitcases containing everything she owned. The drive took 90 minutes, the city gradually giving way to suburbs, then to the raw beauty of Long Island's eastern coast. When they pulled through the gates, Olivia's breath caught. The house was modern architecture at its finest, glass and weathered wood and clean lines, built into the landscape like it had grown there organically. It faced the ocean, windows reflecting the afternoon sun, the whole structure seeming to hover between earth and sky. It was beautiful. It was intimidating. It was a monument to wealth she couldn't even comprehend. Lucas was waiting at the entrance, dressed in dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, the most casual she'd seen him, and he still looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. "Miss Brown," he said, his tone professional. "Welcome. James will take your belongings to your room. Let me show you around. No, how was the drive? No, I hope you'll be comfortable here. Just straight to business." Lucas led her through the house with the efficiency of a real estate agent showing a property. "Living room, kitchen, you're welcome to use it, though I have a chef who prepares meals. Dining room, my office is off limits unless I invite you in. Upstairs are the bedrooms." Everything was immaculate. Expensive. Cold, despite the warm wood and soft lighting. It felt like a showroom, not a home. "This will be your room," Lucas said, opening a door at the end of the upstairs hallway. The bedroom was bigger than Olivia's entire Brooklyn apartment. King-size bed with white linens. Sitting area with a view of the ocean. Ensuite bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people. A walk-in closet that echoed when she looked inside because she had almost nothing to put in it. "I took the liberty of stocking some basic necessities," Lucas said, gesturing to the bathroom. "Toiletries, towels, etc. If you need anything else, let Mrs. Chen know. She manages the household." "Mrs. Chen?" "Housekeeper. She comes daily except Sundays. She'll prepare meals if I'm working late." Lucas checked his watch, a gesture Olivia was beginning to recognize meant he was ready to end the interaction. "Your first appointment with Dr. Amelia Chen, no relation to Mrs. Chen, is tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll drive you. You don't have to." "Yes, I do. The contract requires my presence for all fertility-related appointments." His tone made it clear this wasn't kindness, it was obligation. Olivia nodded. "Okay." Lucas turned to leave, then paused at the door. "One more thing. My room is at the opposite end of the hall. You won't hear me, I won't hear you. We each have our privacy. I work long hours and I value quiet. I expect the same from you." "I'm not exactly throwing parties," Olivia said, unable to keep the edge from her voice. Something flickered across Lucas's face. Irritation? Amusement? It was gone before she could identify it. "Dinner is at 7 if you'd like to join me. Otherwise, Mrs. Chen will leave a plate for you." He left without waiting for a response. Olivia stood alone in her beautiful, empty room and felt the weight of what she'd agreed to settle over her shoulders. 12 months in this house. 12 months with a man who saw her as a walking incubator. 12 months of carrying a child she'd have to pretend wasn't half hers. She walked to the window and looked out at the ocean, vast and indifferent and relentless. She could do this. She'd survived worse. At least, that's what she told herself. That night, Olivia went downstairs at 7, not because she wanted to have dinner with Lucas, but because eating alone. In her room felt like accepting that she was hired help, not a person. Lucas was already seated at the dining table, reading something on his tablet. He looked up when she entered, surprise flickering across his features. "You came. You invited me. I expected you'd prefer privacy." Olivia sat across from him, the table large enough that they might as well have been in different rooms. "I spend enough time alone. I can handle awkward dinner conversation." Was that almost a smile? Lucas's mouth twitched slightly before he controlled it. Mrs. Chen appeared with plates, grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, wild rice. It looked like something from a restaurant because, of course, Lucas Morris didn't eat like normal people. They ate in silence for several minutes. Olivia was acutely aware of every sound she made, her fork against the plate, her swallowing, her breathing. Lucas seemed completely unbothered, eating with the same efficient precision he seemed to apply to everything. "This is good," Olivia said finally, unable to stand the silence. "Mrs. Chen is excellent." Lucas didn't look up from his tablet. More silence. "Do you always work during dinner?" Olivia asked. "Yes." "That seems lonely." Now he looked up, his gray eyes sharp. "I prefer efficiency. Eating while reviewing contracts saves time. God forbid you waste 30 minutes just experiencing food. I'm experiencing it. I'm simply multitasking." Olivia set down her fork. "Can I ask you something?" Lucas closed his tablet with a sigh that suggested she was interrupting important work. "Yes. Why do you want a child if you don't actually seem to want to change your life at all? You're still working constantly, still eating alone, still living like adding a baby to this house is going to be just another item on your schedule to manage." Lucas was quiet for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "My son will have everything," he said finally. "The best education, the best opportunities, security and legacy, and a future that I've built for him. That's what a father provides. What about love, attention, actually being present in his life? I'll provide those things as well." While reading contracts during breakfast, Lucas's jaw tightened. "You're here to carry my child, Miss Brown, not to critique my parenting philosophy." The use of Miss Brown instead of Olivia was deliberate, a reminder of the distance between them. "You're right," Olivia said, standing. "Thank you for dinner. I'll eat in my room from now on." She was halfway to the door when Lucas spoke. "Olivia." She turned. He was looking at her now, really looking, and something in his expression was less guarded. "I don't know how to be a father," he admitted. "I only know how to be successful. I'm hoping that will be enough." The vulnerability in his voice caught her off guard. This was the first truly human thing he'd said to her. "It won't be," Olivia said gently, "but maybe you'll figure out the rest as you go." She left him sitting alone at his table, surrounded by the success that hadn't taught him how to connect with another human being. And she tried very hard not to feel sympathy for a billionaire who had everything except the ability to let anyone close. Dr. Amelia Chen's fertility clinic was in the Hamptons, all soft lighting and calming colors and the kind of hushed professionalism that came with dealing with people's most intimate struggles. Lucas and Olivia sat in the waiting room, careful not to touch, not to look at each other, both pretending to read magazines while the reality of what they were about to do hung between them like fog. "Mr. Morris? Ms. Brown?" A nurse appeared. "Dr. Chen is ready for you." Dr. Chen was a woman in her 40s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor that Olivia immediately appreciated. "Please, both of you sit," she said, gesturing to chairs in front of her desk. "I've reviewed both of your medical files, and I have to say you're both ideal candidates from a biological standpoint. Olivia, your health is excellent. Lucas, your fertility testing shows no issues. This should be a straightforward process." "How does traditional surrogacy via artificial insemination work exactly?" Olivia asked. She'd researched, but she wanted to hear it from the doctor. "We'll track your cycle to identify your optimal fertility window," Dr. Chen explained. "When you're ovulating, Lucas will provide a sperm sample which we'll prepare and introduce via intrauterine insemination, a simple, painless procedure. Then we wait 2 weeks to test for pregnancy. Simple, painless, clinical words for the creation of a human being." "What are the success rates?" Lucas asked. "IUI has about a 10 to 20% success rate per cycle for most couples. Given both your ages and health profiles, I'd estimate you're on the higher end of that range. We may need to try for several cycles, months of coming to this clinic, of Lucas providing samples, of Olivia's body being a science experiment. Let's discuss timing," Dr. Chen continued. "Olivia, when was your last menstrual period?" The appointment continued with increasingly personal questions that Olivia answered while trying to forget that Lucas was sitting 3 feet away, hearing every detail about her reproductive system. Finally, Dr. Chen said, "Based on your cycle, I'd recommend we plan for your first insemination 2 weeks from today. That gives us time for baseline testing and for both of you to mentally prepare." "We're prepared," Lucas said immediately. Dr. Chen looked at Olivia. "Are you?" "No. God, no." She was about to let them put Lucas Morris's sperm inside her body, hoping it would create a baby she'd have to give away. "Yes," Olivia lied. Dr. Chen didn't look convinced, but she nodded. "All right, I'll have my staff schedule everything. In the meantime, Olivia, I want you to start taking prenatal vitamins, maintain a healthy diet, and avoid alcohol and smoking, though I see from your file you don't smoke. What about her work? Lucas asked. She's been working 3 jobs. I assume she should stop? Olivia's head snapped toward him. They hadn't discussed this. I'd recommend reducing stress, Dr. Chen said carefully. But Olivia, that's ultimately your choice. The contract includes full compensation and living expenses, Lucas said to Olivia. There's no reason for you to work. I like working. I like having my own money. You'll have your own money. I'll be paying you. That's different. They were arguing in front of the doctor, who was watching them with interest. Perhaps we should discuss this privately, Dr. Chen suggested. But for what it's worth, stress can impact fertility. If you can reduce your workload, Olivia, it might improve your chances of conception. Olivia wanted to argue, wanted to maintain her independence. But she thought about her 3 terrible jobs, the exhaustion, the stress. Fine, she said. I'll quit. Lucas nodded, satisfied. Good. The drive back to Montauk was silent and tense. Olivia stared out the window, watching the landscape blur past, feeling control of her life slipping away bit by bit. I'll transfer an additional stipend for personal expenses, Lucas said suddenly. Since you'll no longer have employment income, I don't need your allowance. It's not an allowance. It's part of the arrangement. Everything is part of the arrangement with you, isn't it? Olivia turned to look at him. The contract, the appointments, the way I should live my life. Do I get to make any decisions, or are you buying all of those too? Lucas's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I'm ensuring optimal conditions for a successful pregnancy. You're controlling every aspect of my existence. That's what you agreed to. He was right, and Olivia hated it. When they got back to the estate, Olivia went straight to her room and called Marcus. I made a huge mistake, she said when he answered. What happened? I quit my jobs. I'm living in his house. In 2 weeks, they're going to artificially inseminate me with his sperm. And I'm supposed to just accept that I'm not a person anymore. I'm a project, an investment, a fucking incubator. Liv, I can't do this. I thought I could separate myself emotionally, but Marcus, he's so cold. He talks about our baby like it's a business merger, and I'm going to have to live here for a year being treated like... She couldn't finish. She was crying too hard. Marcus let her sob for a moment, then said quietly, Do you want to come home? Break the contract? We'll figure out the money some other way. Olivia thought about her empty apartment. Oh wait, she didn't have an apartment anymore. She'd given it up. She thought about Marcus's tuition, her student loans, the eviction notice that had started this whole nightmare. There is no other way, she whispered. Then you need to set boundaries with him. You're not his employee, Liv. You're entering into a CO creation process. Demand to be treated with respect. After they hung up, Olivia washed her face, straightened her shoulders, and went to find Lucas. He was in his office, of course, working. She knocked on the doorframe. He looked up, surprise and irritation crossing his features. We need to talk, Olivia said. I'm busy. I don't care. She walked into his office uninvited and sat in the chair across from his desk. Here are my terms. You can accept them, or we can end this right now. Lucas leaned back in his chair, something that might have been amusement in his eyes. Your terms? I'll quit my jobs. I'll live here. I'll follow all medical recommendations. I'll give you your son. Olivia met his gaze directly. But you will treat me like a human being. Not an employee, not a vessel, not a project. When we have dinner, you close your laptop and actually talk to me. When you make decisions about my body or my life, you discuss them with me first. And you stop calling me Miss Brown like I'm your subordinate. My name is Olivia. Lucas was quiet for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, anything else? Yes. I want to keep painting. I need a space with good light where I can work. It's how I process things, and if I'm going to survive a year in this house, I need that outlet. There's a converted boathouse on the property, windows on 3 sides, northern light. I'll have it set up as a studio for you. Olivia blinked, surprised. Just like that? You're right. You're not my employee. He paused, seeming to struggle with the word. You're the mother of my child. You deserve to be treated accordingly. It was the first time he'd called her the mother of his child. Something in Olivia's chest loosened slightly. Okay then, she said. Okay. Lucas almost smiled. Anything else, Olivia? The use of her name felt like a concession, a small victory. Not right now. but I reserve the right to add to the list. I'd expect nothing less. Lucas reopened his laptop, then paused. For what it's worth, I don't mean to be cold. This is new territory for me. All of it. Me too, Olivia admitted. Their eyes met, and for just a moment, they weren't Billionaire and Surrogate. They were two people about to do something terrifying together. Then the moment passed, and Lucas returned to his work. But as Olivia left his office, she felt something she hadn't felt since signing the contract. Hope that maybe, just maybe, this wouldn't be as unbearable as she'd feared. 2 weeks later, Olivia found herself back in Dr. Chen's office, wearing a hospital gown and trying not to think too hard about what was about to happen. Lucas was in a different room, providing his sample. The clinical nature of it should have made it less awkward, but somehow it made it worse. They were creating a life through medical intervention, through procedures and timing and science. There was nothing romantic about it, nothing warm, just biology and intention and a contract that bound them together. Ready? Doctor, Chen asked, entering the room with a kind smile. As I'll ever be, Olivia said. The procedure itself was quick, painless, exactly as Dr. Chen had promised. Lucas's genetic material, prepared and concentrated, introduced into Olivia's uterus at the optimal moment for conception. And just like that, they'd done it. All set, Dr. Chen said, helping Olivia sit up. I want you to rest here for about 15 minutes, then you can go home. No heavy lifting for today, but otherwise resume normal activities. And now we wait 2 weeks. 2 weeks to know if I'm pregnant with his baby, Olivia said. 2 weeks to know if you're pregnant, period, Dr. Chen corrected gently. Once that baby exists, Olivia, it's not just his. Biology doesn't work that way, no matter what the contract says. After Dr. Chen left, Olivia lay on the exam table, staring at the ceiling, one hand on her flat stomach. Somewhere inside her body, Lucas Morris's sperm was potentially finding her egg, potentially creating a life, potentially making her a biological mother to a child she'd never be allowed to raise. There was a soft knock, and Lucas appeared in the doorway. Can I come in? He asked. Olivia nodded, and he entered, looking uncomfortable in a way she'd never seen him. For once, his confidence seemed shaken. How are you feeling? He asked. Fine. It didn't hurt. Good. Lucas pulled up a chair and sat beside the exam table, close enough that Olivia could smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy. I wanted to thank you. For doing this, you're paying me $200,000. I think we're even. Still, he was looking at her stomach, where his potential child might be growing. This is more intimate than I anticipated. More real. It's going to get more real, Olivia said. If this works, I'll be pregnant. Showing. You'll see the physical evidence every day. I know. Lucas's voice was quiet. I've been thinking about what you said, about treating you like a human being. You were right. I've been hiding behind the contract because this terrifies me. Olivia turned her head to look at him. What terrifies you? Fatherhood, connection, depending on someone, letting someone into my life in a way I can't control. Lucas ran a hand through his hair. My parents died within 6 months of each other. My father worked himself to death, and my mother died of grief. I learned that loving people means losing them, so I built walls, made everything transactional, kept everyone at a distance. That's lonely, Olivia said softly. It's safe. Lucas met her eyes. But you're right that my son deserves better, and you deserve better. So I'm going to try to be less of an asshole, just less of one, not fully reformed, baby steps. And there it was, an actual smile. Small, but genuine. Olivia smiled back. I can work with that. The moment stretched between them, something shifting in the air. They were still employer and employee, still bound by contract. But maybe, possibly, they were also becoming something like friends. We should get you home, Lucas said, standing. You're supposed to rest. On the drive back, they talked, really talked, for the first time. About his parents, about her foster care experience, about what they each hoped for the future. It felt dangerous, this opening up, like they were both breaking the unspoken rule that they should stay strangers. But neither of them stopped. And when they arrived at the estate, Lucas helped her out of the car with a gentle hand under her elbow, the gesture protective in a way that made Olivia's heart do something complicated. Thank you, she said, for being here today, for making it less clinical. We're in this together, Lucas said, for the next year at least. At least, The words hung between them, full of possibility neither was ready to name. The 2-week wait was torture. Olivia tried not to obsess over every twinge, every cramp, every moment of nausea that might mean nothing or might mean everything. She painted in her beautiful boathouse studio, trying to lose herself in color and light and the ocean view. Lucas kept his promise about being less distant. They had dinner together most nights, actually talking instead of working. He asked about her art. She asked about his hotels. They maintained careful boundaries, but the wall between them was developing cracks. On day 12, Olivia woke up feeling different. Not sick exactly, just different. She didn't say anything to Lucas. On day 14, they went back to Dr. Chen's office for the blood test. Results will take a few hours, Dr. Chen said. I'll call you this afternoon. The waiting was unbearable. Olivia tried to paint but ended up just staring at a blank canvas. Lucas worked, but checked his phone every 5 minutes. At 3:47 p.m., Dr. Chen called. Lucas put it on speaker. Congratulations, Dr. Chen said, and Olivia could hear the smile in her voice. Olivia, you're pregnant. The world seemed to tilt. Pregnant. She was carrying Lucas Morris's baby. Their baby. A child that was half her, half him, and entirely not hers to keep. Thank you, Lucas said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you, Dr. Chen. And Olivia, thank you. After they hung up, they stood in Lucas's office, staring at each other, the magnitude of what they'd done settling over them. I'm pregnant, Olivia whispered. You're pregnant, Lucas repeated, and then he was pulling her into a hug, unexpected, warm, tight. Olivia froze for a moment, then let herself sink into it. Let herself feel the solidness of him, the warmth, the human connection she'd been starving for. When they pulled apart, Lucas's eyes were bright with unshed tears. This is real now, he said. It was always real, Olivia replied. But yes, now it's undeniable. That night, Lucas opened a bottle of sparkling cider, alcohol-free for Olivia, and they toasted to the baby, who was already changing everything. To Ollie, Lucas said, using the name for the first time out loud. To Ollie, Olivia echoed, her hand unconsciously moving to her stomach. And she tried very hard not to think about the fact that she was already in love with a baby she'd never be allowed to call her son. Morning sickness hit Olivia like a freight train. She'd read about it, prepared for it, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of spending the first 6 weeks of pregnancy either vomiting or trying not to vomit. Lucas, true to his word about being less of an asshole, was surprisingly present. He learned to keep ginger ale stocked, brought her crackers in bed before she even sat up in the morning, sat with her on the bathroom floor at 3 a.m. when she was too sick to be, embarrassed, holding her hair back and rubbing small circles on her back. You don't have to do this, Olivia said one particularly bad night after she'd thrown up. Everything she'd eaten that day, plus, it seemed, everything she'd eaten in the past week. Where else would I be? Lucas asked, and he sounded genuinely confused. Sleeping, working, literally anywhere else. You're carrying my son and you're suffering because of it. The least I can do is keep you company. He handed her a cool washcloth. Besides, I'm the one who got you into this situation. Seems only fair I help you through it. Olivia laughed weakly. That's one way to look at it. How else should I look at it? Most men would say this is women's work and disappear. I'm not most men. Lucas helped her stand, supporting her weight as they walked back to her bedroom. And you're not most women. You're Olivia, and you're doing something incredibly difficult for me. I'm not going to abandon you to suffer alone. He stayed until she fell asleep, sitting in the chair by her window, working, quietly on his laptop so she wouldn't be alone if she woke up sick again. And Olivia, drifting in and out of nauseous sleep, thought that maybe Lucas Morris wasn't as emotionally unavailable as he pretended to be. Maybe he was just scared, like her. At 8 weeks, they had their first ultrasound. Dr. Chen squeezed gel on Olivia's stomach and positioned the wand, and suddenly, there it was on the screen, a tiny blob with a flickering heartbeat. There's your baby, Dr. Chen said. Strong heartbeat, measuring exactly on schedule. Lucas stared at the screen like he'd never seen anything so miraculous. His hand found Olivia's without either of them deciding it should, their fingers intertwining as they watched their child's heart beat. That's Ollie, Lucas whispered. That's Ollie, Olivia agreed, her own voice breaking. Dr. Chen printed out ultrasound photos, and Lucas held his like it was made of gold. In the car on the way home, Olivia caught him looking at it every few seconds, his expression soft in a way she'd never seen. "I didn't think it would feel like this," he admitted. "I thought I'd be clinical about it, detached. But Olivia, that's my son. He's real. He's alive. He's growing inside you. I know. How are you handling it? Emotionally, I mean. This must be complicated for you." Complicated didn't begin to cover it. Olivia was growing a baby that was biologically half hers but legally 0% hers. She was bonding with a child she'd have to give away. She was falling in love with a man who was contractually forbidden from loving her back. "I'm managing," she lied. Lucas glanced at her, and she could tell he didn't believe her. But he didn't push. That night, Olivia found the ultrasound photo he'd given her. He'd gotten 2 prints, sitting on her nightstand with a note in his bold handwriting. "Thank you for taking care of him." L. Olivia traced the tiny blob on the photo and let herself cry for the first time since getting pregnant. Because she was taking care of him, she was loving him already. And in 7 months, she was going to have to pretend she didn't. At 10 weeks, the morning sickness finally started to ease. Olivia could eat again, could paint again, could exist without feeling like her body was trying to turn itself inside out. Lucas noticed immediately. "You're glowing," he said one morning at breakfast, and there was something in his voice that made Olivia look up sharply. He was staring at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Appreciation? Attraction? Longing? It was gone before she could identify it, his professional mask sliding back into place. "I'm just happy I can keep food down," Olivia said. "It looks good on you. The pregnancy, I mean. You look healthy." The compliment hung between them, charged with something neither wanted to acknowledge. Mrs. Chen appeared with more coffee, breaking the moment, but Olivia felt it. The shift, the awareness, the dangerous attraction growing between them despite all the reasons it shouldn't. That afternoon, Olivia was painting in her boathouse studio when Lucas appeared in the doorway. "Can I watch?" he asked. "It's your boathouse. It's your studio now." Lucas came in anyway, settling into the chair by the window. "What are you working on?" Olivia looked at her canvas, a seascape, all blues and grays and the suggestion of something beneath the surface. "I'm not sure yet. It's still finding itself." They fell into comfortable silence, Olivia painting while Lucas watched. It should have been uncomfortable, being observed while she worked, but somehow it wasn't. "You're very talented," Lucas said eventually. "I've been looking at the paintings you brought with you, the Urban Decay series. They're remarkable. They didn't sell. That doesn't make them less remarkable. It just means the people at that gallery were idiots with no vision." Olivia laughed. "That's one interpretation. It's the correct interpretation." Lucas stood, moving closer to look at her current work. "You see beauty where others see brokenness. That's a gift, or a coping mechanism. Can't it be both?" Their eyes met, and Olivia saw understanding in his gaze. He got it. He understood that art wasn't just a career for her, it was survival, processing. The way she made sense of a world that had never made sense. "Yes," she said quietly. "It can be both." Lucas reached out like he might touch her face, then seemed to remember himself and pulled back. "I should let you work." But he came back the next day. And the next. It became their routine, Olivia painting, Lucas working quietly nearby, both of them pretending this wasn't intimacy developing, pretending they weren't breaking the unspoken rules with every shared silence. At 12 weeks, Olivia's body started to change in ways that couldn't be hidden. A small bump appeared, barely noticeable to anyone else but undeniable to her. She was standing in front of her bathroom mirror, her shirt pulled up, staring at the slight swell when Lucas knocked on her bedroom door. "Olivia?" Dr. Chen's office called about scheduling. He stopped short when she opened the door, clearly having just been examining her stomach. "Sorry, I should have waited for you to answer." "It's fine." Olivia pulled her shirt down self-consciously. What did they say? But Lucas wasn't listening. He was staring at her stomach with an expression of wonder. "You're showing," he said. "Barely." "Can I?" He stopped himself. "Sorry, that was inappropriate." "Can you what?" "Can I see? The bump, I mean. You don't have to. I've never seen this stage of pregnancy in person." Olivia knew she should say no. This was too intimate, too personal, crossing too many lines. She lifted her shirt anyway. Lucas's breath caught. His hand lifted like he wanted to touch her stomach, but he kept it hovering in the air between them, not quite making contact. "That's Ollie," he whispered. "That's our son, growing inside you. Our son." He'd said our, Not my. Do you want a touch? Olivia asked, her voice barely audible. Lucas's eyes met hers, asking permission. She nodded. His palm settled against her stomach, warm and broad, covering the small bump completely. Olivia's breath stuttered at the contact, at the electricity that sparked between them. Thank you, Lucas said, his voice rough. For this, for him, for everything. They stood frozen like that, his hand on her stomach, their eyes locked, both of them breathing too fast. This was the moment. The moment they could acknowledge what was happening between them, what had been building for weeks. Lucas pulled his hand back like he'd been burned. I'm sorry, that was inappropriate. The contract. I know what the contract says, Olivia interrupted. Then you know we can't. Lucas stepped back, putting physical distance between them. I'll have my assistant schedule the appointment. Excuse me. He left, practically fleeing, and Olivia sank onto her bed with shaking hands. They were in so much trouble, because the contract could forbid them from acting on their feelings, but it couldn't stop the feelings from existing. And Olivia was absolutely, undeniably, catastrophically falling in love with Lucas Morris, the man who owned her body for the next 7 months but could never be allowed to own her heart. At 18 weeks, Dr. Chen asked if they wanted to know the baby's sex. We already know, Lucas said. It's a boy. Dr. Chen smiled. Well, let's confirm that, shall we? The ultrasound was more detailed now, showing actual features, hands, feet, the curve of a spine. And there, unmistakable even to Olivia's untrained eye, was proof of Ollie's gender. Congratulations, Dr. Chen said. You're definitely having a boy. Lucas's hand found Olivia's again, squeezing tight. Oliver Morris III, he said. I'm having a son. In the car afterward, Lucas was quieter than usual. Olivia watched him staring out at the road, his jaw working like he was trying to decide whether to speak. What are you thinking? She asked finally. That I'm terrified, Lucas admitted. I have no idea how to be a father. My own father was brilliant at business and terrible at everything else. He showed love through providing, never through presents. And I'm exactly like him. You don't have to be, don't I? Look at how I approached this entire situation. I hired someone to have my baby rather than risk an actual relationship. I wrote a contract instead of building a connection. I'm already failing and Ollie isn't even born yet. Olivia turned in her seat to face him. Lucas, you've been there for every appointment. You sit with me when I'm sick. You're learning to be present. I see you trying. That's not failure. That's growth. You're giving me too much credit. And you're not giving yourself enough. Olivia's hand moved to her stomach, an unconscious protective gesture. Ollie is lucky to have you as his father, and you as his... Lucas stopped, the word mother dying on his lips. Because Olivia wasn't going to be Ollie's mother. The contract was very clear about that. The silence in the car became heavy with everything they couldn't say. At 20 weeks, Olivia felt it, the first flutter of movement. She was reading in bed when it happened, a sensation like bubbles popping low in her belly. Ollie was moving. She sat up, hand pressed to her stomach, waiting to feel it again. There, another flutter, stronger this time. Hi, baby boy, she whispered. I feel you. The overwhelming wave of love that hit her was terrifying in its intensity. This wasn't theoretical anymore. This wasn't biology or contracts or transactions. This was her son moving inside her body, and she loved him with a fierceness that made her chest ache. She was crying before she realized it, tears streaming down her face as she felt Ollie moving, because he was hers, biologically, undeniably hers, and in 5 months she was going to have to pretend he wasn't. There was a soft knock on her door. Lucas, come in, she called, wiping at her tears. Lucas entered, then stopped when he saw her crying. What's wrong? Is something wrong with the baby? No, he's... Her voice broke. He's moving, Lucas. Ollie's moving. Lucas crossed the room in 3 strides. He's moving? Right now? Yes. Can I... He stopped himself again, that constant hesitation, always asking permission even though the contract said Ollie was his. Give me your hand, Olivia said. She placed Lucas's palm against her stomach, holding it there with both of hers, waiting. They stayed like that for almost a minute, barely breathing, waiting for Ollie to perform. And then he did. A strong flutter directly under Lucas's hand. Oh my God, Lucas breathed. That's him. That's Ollie. That's your son, Olivia confirmed, even though it destroyed her to give Ollie away even in language. Lucas sank onto the bed beside her, his hand still pressed to her stomach, his eyes bright with wonder. He's real. I know I've said that before, but Olivia, he's actually real. He's in there, growing and moving and alive. Another flutter. Stronger. He's showing off now, Olivia said through her tears. Lucas laughed, the sound choked with emotion. My son is showing off. God, I can't believe this is happening. They sat like that for a long time, Lucas's hand on Olivia's stomach, both of them feeling Ollie move. It was the most intimate they'd ever been, more intimate than the insemination, more intimate than any touch they'd shared. This was their child moving between them, connecting them, making them a family, even though the contract said they couldn't be one. Olivia, Lucas said quietly, his voice serious. I need to tell you something. She looked at him, her heart hammering. This isn't clinical for me anymore. It hasn't been for a while. When I look at you, when I think about Ollie, I feel... He stopped, seeming to struggle with the words. I feel things I promised myself I wouldn't feel. Things the contract forbids. Lucas, I know we can't. The contract, the situation, everything is against us. But I need you to know that you're not just the surrogate to me, you're... He couldn't finish. The words hung between them, heavy with everything they meant. Everything they couldn't say. Olivia's hand covered his where it rested on her stomach. I feel it too, she whispered. Whatever this is, I feel it too. Lucas's eyes closed, his jaw clenching. This is going to destroy us. I know. We should stop, maintain distance, protect ourselves. We should, Olivia agreed. Neither of them moved. Neither of them took their hands away. Neither of them did anything to stop the inevitable collision they were hurtling toward. Because it was already too late. Olivia was in love with Lucas Morris. Lucas was in love with Olivia Brown. And the contract that bound them together was the same contract that would rip them apart. The weeks after their confession were the most beautiful and most painful of Olivia's life. Because nothing changed. And everything changed. Lucas still slept at the opposite end of the hall. They still maintained careful physical distance. They still didn't kiss, didn't cross the line that would constitute breach of contract. But the air between them was electric with want. At 24 weeks, Olivia's belly was undeniably round. She transitioned into maternity clothes, soft dresses and leggings that Lucas kept, appearing with, always in her size, always in colors that complemented her skin tone. You don't have to keep buying me things, she said when he presented her with a beautiful navy dress. I want to. Lucas's eyes traveled over her body with barely concealed hunger. You're carrying my son. Let me take care of you. The possessiveness in his voice sent heat through Olivia's body. This was dangerous. They were playing with fire. At 26 weeks, Lucas started reading to Ollie. Olivia would be painting in her studio, and Lucas would appear with a children's book, settling into the chair beside her. He'd read aloud, stories about dragons and adventures and brave little boys, his hand resting on Olivia's belly so Ollie could hear better. He can't actually understand the words yet, Olivia said, even as she melted at the sight of Lucas reading to their unborn son. He can hear my voice. I want him to know me before he's born. Lucas's thumb traced circles on her belly, the touch sending shivers through her. I want him to know both of us, like they were a unit, a family. But they weren't. The contract said they weren't. At 28 weeks, Dr. Chen pulled Olivia aside after an appointment. How are you doing, emotionally? The doctor asked. Fine. Olivia lied. Olivia, doctor. Chen's expression was kind but firm. I've been doing this for 20 years. I can see when a surrogate is bonding too deeply with the baby. And I can see when there's something developing between a surrogate and an intended father. Olivia's face flushed. We're following the contract. The letter of it maybe, but not the spirit. Doctor, Chen sat down across from her. What happens in 3 months when Ollie is born? When Lucas takes his son and you're legally obligated to leave? Have you thought about that? Every single day. Every time Ollie kicked. Every time Lucas looked at her like she was his whole world. I'll handle it, Olivia said. Will you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're in love with both of them, and only one of them you're allowed to keep. The words hit like a physical blow. Because Dr. Chen was right. Olivia was in love with Ollie, her biological son, growing inside her, kicking her ribs and responding to Lucas's voice. And she was in love with Lucas, the man who'd started as a cold employer and become her best friend, her partner, the person she wanted to build a life with. but the contract said she couldn't have either of them. I don't know what to do, Olivia admitted, her voice breaking. Talk to Lucas. Really talk. Figure out what you both want. Consequences be damned. Doctor, Chen squeezed her hand. Because, honey, that contract is destroying both of you. I see it every time you come in here. That night, Olivia found Lucas in his office, working late as always. We need to talk, she said. Lucas looked up, immediately concerned. Is something wrong with Ollie? No, something's wrong with us. Olivia closed the door behind her and sat down. Lucas, what are we doing? We've admitted we have feelings for each other, but we're not doing anything about it. We're in this holding pattern, and it's killing me. Lucas closed his laptop slowly. What do you want me to say, Olivia? That I'm in love with you? I am. That I think about you constantly? I do. That I want you to stay forever? I absolutely do. But the contract? Screw the contract. Olivia stood abruptly, her pregnant belly making the movement awkward. I'm so tired of hiding behind that piece of paper. We wrote it when we were strangers. We're not strangers anymore. No, we're not. Lucas stood too, moving around his desk. But if we violate it, you lose everything. $200,000, Olivia. Your financial security. Marcus's education. Everything you agreed to this for. What if I don't care about the money anymore? You should care. You need to care. Lucas was close now, close enough that Olivia could feel the heat of his body. I won't let you destroy your future for me. What about Ollie's future? Doesn't he deserve to have both his parents? His real parents? Olivia's hand went to her belly. Lucas, I'm his mother. Biologically, legally or not, I'm his mother. And you're his father. And we love each other. Why are we fighting this? Because I'm terrified, Lucas said, his voice raw. Terrified that if we cross that line, everything will fall apart. Terrified that you'll wake up one day and realize you only love me because of the circumstances. Terrified that I'll fail you both. Olivia reached up and cupped his face in her hands. You won't fail us. You can't know that. Neither can you. But Lucas, we're already a family. The only thing the contract is doing is keeping us from admitting it. They were so close now. Lucas's hand settled on her hips, his forehead dropping to rest against hers. If we do this, he whispered, there's no going back. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. With you, with Ollie, with whatever future we can build together. Lucas's control shattered. His mouth found hers in a kiss that was desperate, claiming, full of months of suppressed longing. Olivia kissed him back with equal fervor, her fingers threading through his hair, her body pressed against his as much as her pregnant belly would allow. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Lucas pressed his hand to her stomach. I love you, he said. God help me. I love you so much. I love you too, Olivia whispered. Both of you. They stood there in his office, holding each other, Ollie kicking between them like he was celebrating. We'll figure out the contract, Lucas said. I'll talk to my lawyers. We'll amend it, tear it up, whatever we need to do. But Olivia, you're not leaving. Not in 3 months, not ever. You're staying. Both of you are staying. For the first time since signing that contract, Olivia let herself believe in the possibility of forever. Vanessa Hartwick arrived on a Tuesday morning, unannounced and perfectly polished. Olivia was in the kitchen, making breakfast. Well, attempting to make breakfast while her 29-week pregnant belly made everything awkward. When the doorbell rang, she opened it to find a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Tall, blonde, elegant in a way that made Olivia acutely aware of her messy bun and paint-stained maternity dress. You must be the surrogate, the woman said, her smile sharp as glass. I'm Vanessa Hartwick, Lucas's fiancée. Olivia's stomach dropped. Ex-fiancé, you mean? Is that what he told you? Vanessa's laugh was musical and cruel. How sweet. May I come in? I'd love to see what Lucas has done with the place. Before Olivia could respond, Vanessa swept past her into the house like she owned it. Vanessa? Lucas appeared from his office, shock and displeasure crossing his features. What are you doing here? Darling. Vanessa glided to him, kissing both his cheeks in that affected way wealthy people did. I heard through the Carringtons that you were having a baby via surrogate. I had to come see for myself. Her eyes traveled to Olivia's belly with barely concealed disdain. Traditional surrogacy. How primal. Vanessa, this isn't a good time, Lucas said, his voice tight. Nonsense. I want to meet the woman who's giving you your heir. Vanessa turned to Olivia with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It must be so strange for you, carrying a baby that isn't really yours. He is mine, Olivia said quietly. Biologically, but not legally. That's what matters, isn't it? Vanessa's gaze was predatory. When he's born, you'll hand him over and disappear. That must be difficult to accept. Lucas stepped between them. Vanessa, I need you to leave. Oh, don't be rude, darling. I've come all this way. Vanessa settled onto the couch like she planned to stay. Besides, we have so much to discuss. Your son, your future, your need for a proper family structure. Olivia felt sick. This woman was poison, and she just walked into their lives with clear intention to destroy. I should go, Olivia said, heading for the stairs. Olivia, wait. Lucas started, but she was already gone. From her bedroom, Olivia could hear their voices, Vanessa's light laugh, Lucas's terse responses. She pressed her hand to her belly, feeling Ollie kick in response to her distress. It's okay, baby boy, she whispered. We're okay. But she didn't believe it. Over the next 2 weeks, Vanessa became a constant presence. She'd show up with gifts for the nursery, expensive designer items that made Olivia's handmade touches look shabby in comparison. She'd monopolize Lucas's time, with conversations about old friends and mutual connections that excluded Olivia completely. And she'd make comments, constantly. You're glowing, dear. Pregnancy suits you. Though I imagine it'll be a relief when you can have your body back. Lucas, have you thought about what kind of nanny you'll hire? The baby will need stability, not a revolving door of caregivers. I was just telling the Ashtons about your son. They were shocked you'd use a traditional surrogate, so much legal risk. But I explained you had it all handled contractually. Every word was a paper cut, reminding Olivia of her place. Or rather, her lack of one. Lucas tried to shield her. He'd cut Vanessa's visit short, refuse her invitations, explicitly tell her that Olivia was more than the surrogate. But Vanessa was relentless, and slowly, insidiously, she began to poison the well. At 32 weeks, Olivia overheard the conversation that shattered her. She was coming downstairs for water when she heard Lucas and Vanessa in his office, the door slightly ajar. You need to protect yourself, Vanessa was saying. Traditional surrogacy is a legal minefield. She's the biological mother, Lucas. She could sue for custody. Olivia would never. You don't know that. She's been living in your house for 8 months. She's emotionally attached to the baby. Maybe to you. Vanessa's voice dropped to something intimate. I've seen the way she looks at you, darling. She's falling in love with you if she hasn't already. And when you take that baby from her, she's going to fight you. The contract is ironclad. Contracts can be challenged, especially when the surrogate can claim emotional coercion or that boundaries were blurred. A pause. Have boundaries been blurred, Lucas? Silence. Damning silence. Oh, Lucas. Vanessa's voice was soft, pitying. You've gotten involved with her, haven't you? Personally involved? It's complicated. It's catastrophic. If she can prove you've had a personal relationship, she can argue the contract is void, that you took advantage of her vulnerable position. She could take you for millions. Take your son. Olivia's hand went to her belly, tears streaming down her face. What do I do? Lucas asked, and he sounded lost. You recommit to the contract. You create distance. You remind her, and yourself, that this is a business arrangement. And when the baby is born, you ensure she leaves as planned. I can't just... Vanessa, I have feelings for her. Feelings aren't worth losing your son over. Vanessa's voice hardened. You need to choose, Lucas. Your emotions or your child. And honestly, once she's gone, you'll realize those feelings were just proximity and circumstance, not real love. And what are you suggesting? That you're real love? I'm suggesting that you need a partner who understands your world, who can be a proper mother to your son, who won't threaten your parental rights. A pause. I made a mistake leaving you, Lucas, but I'm here now. Let me help you fix this mess. Olivia didn't wait to hear more. She ran to her room as quietly as her pregnant body allowed and locked the door. Vanessa was right about everything. Olivia was the biological mother with no legal rights. She had fallen in love with Lucas. She was emotionally attached to Ollie. And if Lucas was smart, he'd protect himself by enforcing the contract exactly as written, which meant she had 3 months before she'd have to give birth to her son and hand him over to Lucas forever, before she'd have to walk away from the only family she'd ever wanted, before she'd have to lose everything. The next week was torture. Lucas pulled away, not dramatically, but noticeably. He stopped reading to Ollie. He ate dinner in his office. He attended Dr. Chen's appointments but stayed professional, distant. He was protecting himself, exactly as Vanessa had advised, and Olivia was dying inside. At her 34-week appointment, Dr. Chen noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" she asked when Lucas stepped out. "He's pulling away," Olivia said, tears falling. Vanessa's convinced him, "I'm a threat, that I'll sue for custody or claim he took advantage of me. He's rebuilding the walls, and I can't do this, Dr. Chen. I can't give birth to my son and hand him over to Lucas and walk away like I'm nothing." "Then don't. What choice do I have? The contract?" "Screw the contract, Olivia. Fight for your son. Fight for the man you love. Stop letting that piece of paper and that poisonous woman dictate your life." But Olivia didn't know how to fight. She'd spent her whole life accepting that she didn't belong, that she was temporary, that she didn't deserve to be kept. At 35 weeks, Vanessa played her final card. She invited Olivia to lunch, just the two of them. They sat in an expensive restaurant in the Hamptons, Vanessa ordering champagne for herself and sparkling water for Olivia with practiced superiority. "I wanted to talk to you woman to woman," Vanessa said, her smile venomous, "about what happens after the baby is born. I know what happens. The contract is very clear." "Yes, but do you really understand? You'll give birth, a painful, traumatic experience, and then immediately hand your biological child to Lucas. You'll never hold him again, never feed him, never hear him call you mama." Vanessa leaned forward. "You'll go back to your little artist life, and we'll raise your son. Lucas and I." Olivia's blood ran cold. "You and Lucas? Did he not tell you? He's asked me to stay, to help with the baby, to provide the stable family structure his son deserves." Vanessa's smile was triumphant. "We're getting back together, dear. It's what makes sense. I'm from his world, I understand his life, and I can be a proper mother to his child." "You're lying." "Am I?" "Why don't you ask him?" Vanessa sipped her champagne. "Lucas needs an heir, but he also needs a partner. You were always temporary, sweetheart, a womb for hire. Surely you understood that." Olivia stood abruptly, her pregnant belly bumping the table. "Stay away from me. Stay away from Lucas. And stay away from my son." "Your son?" Vanessa laughed. "He's not your son, darling. Read the contract. You have no legal claim to him whatsoever. You're the incubator, nothing more." Olivia left the restaurant shaking with rage and heartbreak. That night, she made a decision. She couldn't do this. Couldn't give birth to Ollie and hand him to Lucas, knowing Vanessa would be there, knowing she'd be erased from her son's life while another woman took her place. She had to leave, now, before the birth, before she lost what little remained of her heart. At 2 a.m., Olivia started packing. Olivia was crying as she packed, her hands shaking as she folded clothes and stuffed them into her suitcase. 36 weeks pregnant, she could barely move, but adrenaline and heartbreak drove her forward. She'd leave tonight, drive to Marcus's apartment in the city, figure out how to break the contract, forfeit the money, and disappear before— "What the hell are you doing?" Olivia spun around. Lucas stood in her doorway, his hair disheveled like he'd been sleeping, his eyes wild with panic. "I'm leaving," she whispered, one hand protectively cradling her swollen belly. "I can't do this anymore, Lucas. Keep the money. I'll sign whatever you want, but I can't stay here and watch you build a family with her while I hand over my son like he's nothing. Our contract." "Screw the contract." Olivia's voice shattered, raw and desperate. Everything she'd been holding in for months erupted. "That's my baby, my son, my body, my DNA, my blood, and you're going to marry that woman and let her be his mother while I'm legally erased from his life?" Lucas stared at her, his face pale. "Olivia, I thought I could do this. I thought it was just biology, just a transaction. But it's not." She was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. "He's mine, and I love him, and I love you, and I can't give him away. I can't give you away, even though I was never supposed to have either of you." The room fell silent except for her broken breathing. Lucas took a step toward her, his storm-gray eyes blazing with something she'd never seen before, something fierce and possessive and absolutely certain. "You love me?" His voice was barely a whisper. Olivia's hand went to her belly, where Ollie was kicking frantically, responding to her distress. "It doesn't matter. You've made your choice. Vanessa told me everything, that you're getting back together, that she's going to help you raise Ollie, that I'm just—" "Stop." Lucas closed the distance between them in 3 strides. Stop right now. Vanessa told you what? That you asked her to stay, to be Ollie's mother, to... That's a goddamn lie. Lucas's hands cupped her face, forcing her to look at him. Olivia, I haven't asked Vanessa anything except to leave. Repeatedly. She's been manipulating both of us, trying to poison what we have because she can't stand that I moved on. Olivia's breath caught. But I heard you. 2 weeks ago, she said you needed to choose between your emotions and your child, and you pulled away from me. Because I'm an idiot. Lucas's voice broke. Because she made me afraid that my feelings for you were putting Ollie at risk, that you'd sue for custody or claim I'd taken advantage. So I tried to protect myself by rebuilding walls. But Olivia, all I did was hurt both of us. She said I'm just a womb for hire, that I was always temporary. You were never temporary. Lucas's thumbs wiped at her tears. You're the mother of my child, the woman I'm in love with, the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. And Vanessa can go to hell. Olivia wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. But the contract... Fuck the contract, Lucas said fiercely. I never should have written it. I was trying to protect my heart by reducing you to a transaction, but, Olivia, you're not a transaction. You're everything. He dropped to his knees in front of her, his hands on her pregnant belly, his forehead pressed against where Ollie was kicking. Don't leave, he whispered. Please, don't take my son and don't take yourself. I can't lose both of you. I won't survive it. Olivia's fingers threaded through his hair, her body shaking with sobs. I'm so scared, Lucas. Scared that I'm not enough. Scared that when Ollie is born, you'll realize you don't need me anymore. Scared that I'll be temporary again like I've always been. Lucas looked up at her, tears streaming down his face. You've never been temporary. From the moment you walked into my office, you've been permanent. I was just too afraid to admit it. What about Vanessa? What about... Vanessa is leaving, tonight, and she's never coming back. Lucas stood, pulling Olivia into his arms. And you're staying, you and Ollie, both of you, forever. But how? The contract says... I don't care what the contract says. Lucas pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. Tomorrow morning, I'm calling my lawyer. We're tearing up that contract and writing a new one that has both our names as Ollie's parents, one that gives you every right you deserve, one that makes us a family legally, not just in our hearts. You mean that? I've never meant anything more in my life. Lucas's hand covered hers on her belly. Marry me, Olivia. Not because of Ollie, not because of the pregnancy, because I love you, and I want to spend every day for the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you. Olivia's tears were falling harder now, but they were different tears. Hope instead of heartbreak. Yes, she whispered. God, yes. Lucas kissed her then, deep and claiming and full of months of love they'd been denying. When they broke apart, both were crying, Ollie kicking frantically between them like he was celebrating. I love you, Lucas said against her lips. I love you so much it terrifies me, but I'm done being afraid. I love you too, Olivia replied. Both of you. My whole family. But they weren't finished yet. Downstairs, Vanessa was waiting. Lucas and Olivia came down the stairs together, his arm protectively around her shoulders, her hand on her pregnant belly. Vanessa was in the living room, looking perfectly composed as always. But when she saw them together, united, clearly in love, her mask slipped. Lucas, darling, we need to talk about... You need to leave, Lucas said, his voice cold as winter. Now. Vanessa's laugh was brittle. Don't be ridiculous. We were just discussing the baby's future. You were lying to Olivia, trying to convince her I'd asked you to stay, to be Ollie's mother, to, what was it, provide a stable family structure? Lucas's voice was deadly quiet. You manipulated both of us, Vanessa. Tried to destroy what we have because you can't stand that I'm happy. Happy? Lucas, she's the surrogate. She's carrying your baby for money, not love. Whatever feelings you think you have are just what? Not real? Olivia found her voice, stepping forward. You don't get to decide what's real for us, Vanessa. You don't get to poison our relationship with your bitterness and jealousy. Jealousy? Vanessa's composure cracked completely. Why would I be jealous of a broke artist playing house with a billionaire? You're delusional if you think this is going to last. The moment that baby is born and Lucas realizes you're just a woman with nothing to offer. She's the woman I love, Lucas interrupted. She's brilliant and talented and kind. She sees beauty in broken things. She made me remember how to feel. And she's giving me the greatest gift of my life, Not just Ollie, but a family. A real family built on choice and love. You're making a mistake, Vanessa hissed. That contract gives her no rights. She's the biological mother. She can sue you for custody, take you for millions. Then I'll give her millions, Lucas said calmly. I'll give her everything, because Olivia is Ollie's mother, and she deserves every right to him. We're going to tear up that contract and start over, as equals, as partners, as parents. Vanessa stared at him, fury and disbelief warring on her face. You're choosing her over me? I chose her the moment she put my hand on her belly and let me feel my son kick. I just wasn't brave enough to admit it until now. Lucas moved to the door and opened it. Goodbye, Vanessa. Don't come back. You'll regret this, Vanessa spat, grabbing her purse. When she takes you to court, when she destroys everything you've built, don't come crying to me. I won't need to, Lucas said, because Olivia doesn't want to destroy me. She wants to build a life with me. That's the difference between her and you. Vanessa's parting look at Olivia was pure venom. You'll never be enough for him. You'll always be the poor girl he had to hire, and you'll always be the bitter woman he chose to leave. Olivia replied quietly. I genuinely hope you find happiness someday, Vanessa. Just not in our lives. Vanessa left in a storm of expensive perfume and wounded pride. When the door closed behind her, Olivia sagged against Lucas, the adrenaline leaving her body in a rush. It's over, Lucas murmured into her hair. She's gone. It's just us now. Just us, Olivia repeated. And Ollie. As if in response, Ollie kicked hard enough that Lucas felt it even through Olivia's dress. Our son has opinions, Lucas said with a laugh. He's celebrating, Olivia said. We all are. The next morning, Lucas's lawyer arrived with new paperwork. They spent 3 hours going through it, documents that gave Olivia full parental rights, that listed both their names as Ollie's parents, that dissolved the surrogacy contract completely. You're sure about this? The lawyer asked Lucas. You're giving up significant legal protections. I don't need protection from the woman I love, Lucas said, reaching for Olivia's hand. I need partnership, equality, family. Olivia signed her name next to Lucas's, her hand shaking with emotion. They were really doing this, building a family on choice instead of contract. That afternoon, Lucas took Olivia to a small jewelry store in town. Pick one, he said, gesturing to the engagement rings. Lucas, you don't have to. I want to. His eyes were soft. I want the whole world to know you're mine and I'm yours, that we chose each other. Please, Olivia, let me do this right. She chose a simple band with a single diamond, nothing ostentatious, just beautiful. Lucas slid it onto her finger, then kissed her hand. Soon, he promised. As soon as Ollie is born and you're recovered, I'm marrying you properly. But for now, I want you to have this, a promise that you're permanent. Olivia touched the ring, tears in her eyes. I've never been permanent before. You are now, Lucas said. Forever. At 38 weeks and 4 days, Olivia's water broke. She was painting in her studio, working on a canvas about transformation and new beginnings, when she felt the gush of fluid and the first contraction. Lucas. She called, trying not to panic. He appeared within seconds, took one look at her and went into efficient mode. Okay. We practiced this. Hospital bag is packed. Car is ready. You're doing great. He was talking more to himself than to her, and Olivia would have laughed if another contraction hadn't stolen her breath. The drive to the hospital was a blur of contractions and Lucas's increasingly panicked encouragement. You're doing amazing. You're so strong. We're almost there. Breathe, baby, breathe. I am breathing, Olivia gasped. This hurts more than I expected. Do you want the epidural? Dr. Chen said you could have the epidural. Yes, drugs. All the drugs. Lucas laughed, despite his terror, his hand gripping hers. At the hospital, Dr. Chen was waiting with her team. All right, Olivia. Let's have a baby, she said with a warm smile. The next 6 hours were a blur of pain and pressure and Lucas's constant presence. He never left her side, held her hand through every contraction, whispered encouragement when she was sure she couldn't do it anymore. I can see his head, Dr. Chen announced. Olivia, next contraction, you're going to push. Are you ready? No, Olivia gasped. Yes, you are, Lucas said, his forehead pressed to hers. You're the strongest person I know. You can do this. Bring our son into the world, Olivia. Our son. With the next contraction, Olivia pushed with everything she had. And then again. And again. One more, Olivia. One more big push. Olivia screamed, pushing with every ounce of strength left in her body. And suddenly there was a new sound. A cry. High and indignant and absolutely perfect. "He's here." "Doctor." Chen lifted a tiny, squirming baby. "Congratulations, you have a healthy baby boy." Olivia was sobbing. Lucas was sobbing. Dr. Chen placed Ollie on Olivia's chest, and the world stopped. He was perfect. Tiny and red-faced and screaming his outrage at being born, but absolutely perfect. "Hi, baby boy," Olivia whispered, her hands cradling his small body. "Hi, Ollie. We've been waiting for you." Lucas's hand covered hers, both of them touching their son. "He's beautiful. Olivia, he's so beautiful." Ollie's cries quieted at the sound of Lucas's voice, the voice he'd been hearing for months. His tiny eyes tried to open, searching for the source. "He knows you," Olivia said, awed. "He knows both of us," Lucas corrected. He pressed a kiss to Olivia's temple, then leaned down to whisper to Ollie. "Hey, buddy, I'm your dad, and this is your mom. We love you so much." Dr. Chen gave them a few minutes of skin-to-skin contact, then gently took Ollie to clean him up and do the initial checks. "He's perfect," she reported. 7 pounds 3 ounces, 20 inches long. APGAR scores are excellent. You have a very healthy baby boy." When she brought him back, swaddled in a hospital blanket, both Lucas and Olivia reached for him at the same time. "You first," Lucas said. "You did all the hard work." Olivia took Ollie in her arms, staring down at his tiny face. He had Lucas's nose, her mouth, and eyes that were still that newborn blue but would probably darken to gray. "He's ours," she whispered. "He's ours," Lucas agreed. And there, in that hospital room, the three of them became a family. Not because of a contract, not because of money or arrangements or legal documents, because of love. Choice. The decision to build something beautiful from something that had started as a transaction. Later that night, after the visitors had left and Ollie was sleeping in his bassinet, Lucas pulled out his phone. "What are you doing?" Olivia asked sleepily. "Destroying the last piece of our old life." He showed her his screen. It was a photo of their original contract, the one that had said Olivia had no rights to Ollie, that she was just the surrogate, that she'd have to leave. Lucas deleted the file, then the backup, then the email thread. "It's gone," he said. "Every trace of that contract. There's only one document that matters now." He pulled up the new paperwork, the one listing Olivia Marie Brown and Lucas James Morris as equal parents to Oliver James Morris III. "This is our family," Lucas said. "This is what's real." Olivia pulled him down for a kiss. "I love you." "I love you too. Both of you." Lucas settled into the hospital bed beside her, careful not to jostle her post. "Delivery body. Get some sleep. Our son is going to wake us up in approximately 90 minutes demanding food." "Our son," Olivia repeated, the words still miraculous. She fell asleep with Lucas's arm around her, Ollie's bassinet within reach, and the ring on her finger that promised she'd never be temporary again. The art gallery in Manhattan was packed. Olivia stood in front of her latest series contracts and Grace watching. Wealthy collectors admire paintings that had poured directly from her soul. The centerpiece was a large canvas titled "The Agreement We Broke." It showed a contract being torn apart, golden lights spilling through the tears, and in the center, 2 hands joined with a baby's tiny hand clasped between them. "It's extraordinary," a woman said beside her, the emotion in every brushstroke. "You can feel the story." Olivia smiled. "Thank you. This series is about the difference between what we're obligated to do and what we choose to do, between contracts and love." Across the gallery, Lucas held 2-year-old Ollie on his hip, pointing to various paintings and explaining them in a serious tone that made Ollie giggle. "Dada, that's Mama's," Ollie announced, pointing to a painting of a sunrise over the ocean. "That's right, buddy. Mama painted that. She's very talented, isn't she?" "Mama." Ollie squirmed to get down, toddling over to Olivia on unsteady legs. She scooped him up, pressing kisses to his chubby cheeks. He looked more like Lucas every day, the same storm, gray eyes, the same stubborn chin. But he had her smile and her love for color. "Are you having fun at Mama's show?" she asked. "Pretty pictures," Ollie pronounced. Then, with the attention span of a toddler, hungry, Lucas appeared, pulling out a baggie of crackers from the diaper bag he carried like it was a briefcase. "I came prepared." "You're getting very good at this dad thing," Olivia teased. I had a good teacher. Lucas leaned in to kiss her, soft and sweet. I'm proud of you. This show is incredible. It wouldn't exist without you. Without all of this, Olivia gestured to their family. You gave me a reason to paint again. A reason to believe in happy endings. We gave each other that, Lucas corrected. Marcus appeared with his fiancée, Emma. Sis, these paintings are selling like crazy. You're officially a successful artist. Only took me 31 years, Olivia said with a laugh. Better late than never. Marcus ruffled Ollie's hair. How's my favorite nephew? Only nephew, Ollie corrected seriously, making everyone laugh. As the gallery opening continued, Olivia felt Lucas's hand find hers. Their wedding rings clinked together. They'd married 6 months after Ollie's birth in a small ceremony on the beach, just family and close friends. What are you thinking about? Lucas asked quietly. That 3 years ago I was broke and desperate, and about to agree to the craziest thing I'd ever done. Olivia looked at her family, her husband, her son, her brother, and it was the best decision of my life, even though the contract was terrible, especially because the contract was terrible. It forced us to fight for what we wanted instead of what we thought we deserved. Lucas pulled her closer. I have something to tell you. Should I be worried? Excited, hopefully. He smiled. I've been working with the lawyers on something. You know how we've talked about helping other people in impossible situations? Olivia nodded. They discussed starting a foundation to help women in crisis pregnancies, to provide resources for non-traditional families. I've established the Olivia Brown Morris Foundation for Family Creation. It'll provide financial support, legal resources, and counseling for anyone pursuing surrogacy, adoption, or other paths to parenthood. First project, funding art therapy programs for foster children. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. Lucas, you said once that family is choice, not biology. I want to help more people make that choice. Build families however they can. He touched her face gently. What do you think? I think I love you more every day. Good. Because I'm not done. Lucas glanced at Ollie, who was showing Emma his crackers with great enthusiasm. How would you feel about giving Ollie a sibling? Olivia's breath caught. Are you asking? If you want to get pregnant again, yes, the traditional way this time. No contracts, no arrangements, just us choosing to grow our family. Olivia laughed through her tears. Yes. Absolutely yes. Lucas kissed her deeply, not caring that they were in a crowded gallery, that people were watching. When they broke apart, Ollie was pulling on Lucas's pant leg. Dada, up. Lucas lifted him, and Ollie immediately reached for Olivia, wanting them all together. They stood like that, the three of them in their small circle with a fourth, possibly on the way, and Olivia thought about how far they'd come. From a contract to a family, from strangers to soulmates, from a transaction to the greatest love story she'd ever known. That night, back at the Montauk estate, Olivia tucked Ollie into his bed. The room still had the mural she'd painted when she thought she'd never get to mother him. The ocean with whales and a lighthouse keeping everyone safe. Love you, Mama, Ollie mumbled, half asleep. Love you too, baby boy. Forever and always. Forever always, he repeated, his eyes closing. Olivia found Lucas on the beach, standing where they'd had their wedding ceremony. He turned when he heard her approach, opening his arms. He's asleep? Lucas asked. Finally. He was too excited from the gallery. Olivia melted into his embrace. Thank you for the foundation, for the gallery space, for everything. Thank you for taking a chance on a cold billionaire who didn't know how to love. You knew how. You just needed a reason to remember. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the waves, the stars, the lighthouse in the distance blinking its steady rhythm. Do you ever think about the contract? Olivia asked. About how different things could have been? Every day, Lucas admitted. And every day I'm grateful we were brave enough to break it, to choose each other. Best decision we ever made. Second best, Lucas corrected. The best decision was falling in love in the first place. Breaking the contract just let us admit it. Olivia turned in his arms to face him. When we have another baby. No contracts, Lucas interrupted firmly. No arrangements. No legal documents trying to define what we are. Just us. Choosing to grow our family because we love each other. Deal, Olivia said, kissing him. And as they walked back to the house, the home they'd built from impossible circumstances, Olivia thought about the girl she'd been 3 years ago. Desperate, alone, convinced she'd never belong anywhere. That girl couldn't have imagined this. A husband who loved her, a son who called, her mama, a career that fulfilled her, and a future bright with possibility. She'd signed a contract thinking she was selling herself. Instead, she'd found herself, and the family she'd always deserved. If this story moved you, I need you to do something right now. Smash that like button if you believe love is stronger than any contract. Subscribe to Mr. Hearthline Stories if you want more narratives about breaking rules, choosing love, and building families on your own terms. Until next time.